What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica podcast. Back in your original time on Tuesdays. My name is Alfredo. I'm here with Cristiano Oliveira. And Steve Santos is in Toronto, as you guys can see. What's happening, Steve?
You know, just waiting on a mate.
He's got Toronto right
waiting on a mate.
I don't in case you forget where he's
you
at.
guys don't remember, or Alfredo, you should remember.
Oh, waiting on a mate. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I remember.
Pedgy, that was for you, buddy.
Yeah, Pedgy sent us a video. Got to watch it. It's funny. Anyway, we're here. On tonight's agenda is episode 223. On tonight's agenda, we are going to look at the Derby. We're going to look back at the Derby, of course. We're also going to look ahead to the Portuguese Cup round of 16. Benfica plays tomorrow against Real Massama, team from Lisbon also. And we'll look ahead to Estoril, which comes up this weekend. So we got the usual menu for you guys. Also, before we get going, I'd like to thank the people that took their time to watch our pregame show. We sure had some fun. And again, thank Bruno, Marco, and Pedgy for being on. Steve, you know, you missed out, bro. You missed out. You missed out on a good one. So let's get right into it. The Derby, which happened this Sunday. Benfica played Sporting, with Sporting having a chance to leapfrog Benfica. Benfica obviously with the chance to put more points between the two teams, and that's what Benfica did. I'll give you the lineup before we get into details. Ederson was in goal. Semedo, Luizão, Lindelof, and André Almeida were in the back line. In the midfield, Feza and Pizzi. On the wing, Salvio and Rafa. And up front, Gonçalo Guedes, as Stefan Schwartz calls him. And Raul Jimenez. That was the lineup. So, Steve, let's talk real quick. Rafa, it was something that we thought might have been a possibility. We didn't know he was ready to play 90. I guess he proved us wrong. I myself had answered the question, and I said, well, we don't want to rush him. But, you know, like I said on the pregame show, the coaches are there. They see these guys. The physios are there. They see these guys. I'm sure they're going through a battery of exams to make sure that they're ready. And he was ready. Steve, talk about what Rafa brings to this team.
A lot of verticality. I mean, the guy gets the ball and he's instantly focused on getting closer to the goal. That first touch is just killer. Got crazy pace. A little bit. He adds that little bit of danger that of a guy who can beat you 1v1. Salvio's lost that. Guedes. Yeah, if the ball's into space or if there's not too many guys around, he might be able to outrun you, but he doesn't have that. Servi is a little hit and miss. I think he's got it. It's just not it's not at the same amount or it's not at the same level that Rafa has. And by having Rafa, you had, I don't want to call it an outlet, but you had an instant attacking threat the moment you could get the ball to him. I mean, it was not as often as we would have liked, but the moment that he had the ball, there was almost immediate danger every freaking time.
Yeah, Cristiano, what, in your opinion, did you think that? I mean, I know that before the game we spoke about you know, some changes to that front five, if you will, front four, if you will, and Rafa was one of the guys that was talked about.
Yeah, definitely. I told you, Serbi is a guy that he has a lot of quality. But
Serbi or Rafa? Oh, no, Serbi.
I'm sticking with Serbi right now.
Okay.
Serbi's a guy that has a lot of quality, but he's still, like I told you today before, he's still not a 90-minute player, in my opinion. He comes in, he's very aggressive. He's great defensively because the kid, say what you want about him, but he's always getting back defensively. He's always tracking back. He's always putting pressure on the opposition. That's why it was a good sub when he came on this weekend. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Rafa, he's just a different type of a beast. He's a guy that has experience in a big moment, a guy that's played in the Portuguese league for many years, a guy that's been with the national team. So the big games don't really scare him at this point. A guy that not just has the one-on-one ability, but he also has the playmaking ability. And we saw that with the first goal with the beautiful outside the trivela, outside the foot pass to Salvio. So welcome to change, in my opinion. One that we could have all, I think we could have all seen coming, because it was a matter of time before he was going to start, because he's too good to come off the bench and play 20, 25, 30 minutes. And so I was glad to see him play, and I was glad to see him play well.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about this first half, Steve. I know that you didn't watch the game live, but you had a chance to watch the game yesterday with a little bit more calma. And Steve, one thing that I noticed, and maybe you could fill us in more. Benfica didn't really wait for Sporting. I thought that Benfica swarmed the ball carrier and tried to stop Sporting as much as they could in the transition game in the first build-up. I thought that was probably the most notable difference that I noticed in this Benfica team.
Yeah, they were going man for man in the first phase of build-up. So you had Gedjan, I believe, Samidu most of the time, and Jimenez on Coates. What I found interesting was the way Sporting set up, because normally you would see William split the center backs, but William was basically playing behind those R2 front guys, behind the first phase of pressure, and Rui Patisserie played a lot with the ball out of his feet, which was surprising. I wasn't expecting him to have the calmness that he seems to have acquired now to do that kind of stuff. But we were definitely trying to stop the ball from getting to William, regardless of how they set up, whether it was with William as part of the back three or whether William kind of stepped away from those two center backs and a little bit further forward to them. If you notice, the passing angle towards William was always closed down. The way that Jimenez and Gedge positioned their body, they closed that passing lane, so the only place that the center backs could go usually was to a fullback or a guy like Bruno Cesar or Gelson if they came in off the wing. As the game went on, William was able to get more of the ball, but in different areas of the pitch, never in that back three. It was always, he would normally pop up after Bruno Cesar came short, and he would be the first guy to receive it with the whole game facing him, and that is one of his strong points. But at that point, Benfica were pretty closed off, very narrow, very high up the pitch. Didn't allow Sporting much options in terms of depth. Also, the lineup they chose, they only really had one option in terms of speed and getting in behind us, which was Gelson. So that conditioned them in the first half as well.
Yeah, and Sporting didn't play. I actually thought that they started a lot better than we did, Cristiano. And then for a second there, they had more of the possession, more of the initiative. They were coming into our final third, but after that first, recognition period where teams are kind of feeling each other out, I thought that Benfica kind of balanced the game, and then things were going back and forth.
And we anticipated Sporting to come out playing like that because, as we mentioned on the pregame podcast, all the pressure, not all, but most of the pressure was on Sporting because they needed to get a result. They're the ones that were in second place. They were coming to start to lose. Benfica would have been content with a draw, still coming away with a 2-point lead over their crosstown rivals. So Sporting had the responsibility to come forward. They had that will to come forward because they needed a result. Benfica, it looked like the game was a little bit too big for them at first, but then once they settled down, the first half, it was mano a mano. You know what I mean? It was a pretty even first half. Sporting had their chances. Benfica had their chances. Sporting might have had a little bit more of the ball, but I think Benfica did a good job of taking Adrian, right?
Adrian,
whatever.
Same idea.
He's French, man.
Yeah, Adrian, whatever. They did a good job taking him out of the game because we've seen Sporting this year. When he plays well, Sporting plays well. And he's and like Steve mentioned, William, might be a really big player in their system, but they go as Adrian goes. And so I thought Benfica did a good job of taking him out. And that first half, I thought it was a pretty even first half. I thought both teams could have scored. Both teams had opportunities. And so that's just
I think that Benfica evens out the game in the first half because of the work they were doing in the midfield and then finding the guys on the wings with speed. And a clear example of that was the goal that we scored, which was we stopped Sporting in our area, in our box, and then we played
a very questionable stop at it.
For the state spot.
We have to listen.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Lindelof goes up for a header. PZ's about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from him. The ball hits him in his left arm. I don't think there's a foul in that. But then it ricochets off his left into his right arm. And so yes, it did. Go look back. Look at both arms. Both arms. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it in slow. It hits him both arms.
I don't know.
And to me, a very fortuitous call for Benfica. Not call for Benfica.
I don't know if it hits both arms.
It hit both arms,
tough, man. That's a tough one.
I watched that replay over and over and over and over, and it hits him on the forearm, and then as he turns, it hits him on his right arm, his right hand actually.
Yeah, if it's a two-touch, man, it's a two-touch. That's a poor call by the referee. I specifically
watched that replay over and over and over. We were together.
How many times?
And you saw I got a phone call on that.
How many times did you watch it? I want to know.
Over under 12.
12 times?
Over.
I don't know if 12 times was enough to clear it up. I only saw one hand.
It looked, at least to me, he turns and it looks like he hit it. And so Benfica goes on a counter from that. Ball springs out to Rafa down the left wing. He comes in, he cuts in, he crosses it, I should say, with the outside of his foot across the box. And Salvio, great finish on the way because it's on a bounce. It's a great finish
on the slide.
Yeah, it's a great finish on his part. And Benfica were fortunate to take the lead there. But to me, I have to listen, guys. I have to call.
No, call a spade.
I'm honest. If he would have called it, would I have been upset about it? Yeah, absolutely. I'm Benfiquista. But at the end of the day, would I have understood it? Yeah. I mean, it's in the box. He hits him in the hand. And there's a lot of guys. Peggy, for one, is a guy that'll tell you. Ball hits you in the hand. I don't care how, when, what. It's a penalty. No. End of story. There's a lot of guys that say ball hits you in the hand in the box, it's a penalty.
One thing is hand on the ball, and the other thing is ball on the hand. If it does hit both hands, like Cristiano is claiming, and I haven't seen that many replays. I maybe saw 10, not 12. Maybe at the 12th one I would have seen it. Maybe I would have changed my mind. But for me, first of all, it's an awkward header from Lindelof. He's trying to get that ball in the. I don't know if there's spin on the ball. But he just outstretched, trying to hit the ball. He heads the ball, and he just trying to put a head on the ball, period, just to get the ball away. And Pizzi's, like you said, about a foot. What's Steve? A foot and a half. What's that in meters? I don't know. A couple centimeters.
I don't know.
A couple centimeters. A foot and a half is just like half a meter.
Yeah, so it's close enough. I mean, it's very, very casual, if you want to call it, and unintentional. Now, if it bounces to the other hand, then we got a different story. But Benfica comes on the counter. But before that, William Carvalho tried to stop that counter, and the pressure caused William Carvalho to lose the ball, and that's when Guedes takes off.
And that was a beautiful pass by William Carvalho.
Right.
The ball ricocheted off his knee.
Yeah, and Guedes sticks off a beautiful serve by Rafa. It's one of those things that, you see these guys try, and sometimes it goes through, and sometimes there's just a guy in the nick of time that manages to put a toenail on it. But, it was millimetric, really, and I think that Salvio's effort, with the speed and the slide, is a beautiful goal. It's a beautiful goal because it's very, very fast-paced. And Benfica has the speed on the field to play these type of plays, and also I think that Fesa plays a good outlet ball. I think that Pizzi, when he could play a good outlet ball. Even Lindelof could play a good outlet ball.
I'll tell you this much: Guedes gets the ball after ricochets because Jimenez puts pressure on Carvalho. Mm-hmm. Ball ricochets off him. It falls to Guedes. Guedes starts sprinting up the field, and then at the very last second before he makes the outlet pass to the left to Rafa, it looks like he took too long of a touch, and I was like, "Damn!" And in the middle of saying "damn," he slides and he's able to get to the ball. Him and I believe Smith, they were both going in for the ball at the same time, and then it was able to spring Rafa up the wing on his own.
Yeah. So 24 minutes after Benfica,
look.
Epa, agora não posso.
Right there.
Não vai, man. Não vai. Estás maluco, man. Estás maluco, não vai.
Okay.
All right, after the pod, we'll watch it again.
Post that on Twitter.
If it did hit on both hands, then it's a very questionable call. If it hit only one hand, for me, and being a referee, even though probably a very low class of referee, I'd say that's no penalty, no handball. So anyway, Benfica gets up on the scoreboard after stopping Sporting at their half. And look, the crowd's behind us. We balance out the first half, and I think that really we finished off the first half on a higher note, Steve. We also had that chance that one of Benfica's, I don't know, was it one of Benfica's players or Sporting players trying to clear the ball, and Ruiz puts his head on the ball and ends up at Jimenez.
It was Pizzi trying to make a cross-field pass, and Ruiz gets his head to, and the ball falls to Jimenez one-on-one with Rui Patricio.
That's a great save.
That was a great pass by
Pizzi. He was quick to come out. Great pass by Pizzi.
Yeah. It's a great save for the guy that was voted the 12th best player in the world.
And at first, it looked like he got it in with his knee. No, that was all.
No, it was all hands.
That was a beautiful.
Yeah,
save
that was a good one because he had the angles covered and he got it. So
if we been 2-0 in the first half.
I think that right there it's tough. But second half, Sporting needed to come out, and they sure did. And I think that aside from the goal that we scored, and again, stopped Sporting on one of their attacks.
They hit the post.
That's right.
On that play, and Benfica gets the rebound, runs up the other way, and scores.
There you go.
In terms of demoralization, maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
Can't get any better than that.
Those 2 goals were killer. I mean, even the first goal, Sporting come up the field with 2 very precise plays coming through the back, through William, through I believe it was Bruno Cesar. No, the first.
You mean the first half? I'm sorry.
The first half. I think it goes to Bruno Cesar, and then there's a cross with that I don't know. I don't remember if it ended up being offside or not, but a shot from inside the box, and then there's another one right after that, and immediately that weird play with the handball that we don't know, and we get at them right after they feel like they're on top. They're creating a chance after chance. Their football's kind of flowing, and bam, our goal shuts them back down. In the second half, it was the exact same thing again. They come out with Campbell. They have a little bit more of that pace, that more direct player, a little bit more of or another option for a player that can get in behind us and run at us, which they didn't have in the first half. And obviously, you watch the game and you can see that makes a difference. But he sets up the cross, I believe, for Bastos that hits the post.
Yeah,
and immediately we come back again and score at a time that they are feeling confident. Their lungs are puffed out, and pow, we deflate them again. I think in terms of mentality or in terms of the mental aspect of the game, the timing of those 2 goals was huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I actually predicted that Bruno Cesar was going to have a good game because this is a guy we've seen step up in big games, and he was actually pretty average at best in the first half.
He had a hard time.
When JJ made that sub at halftime, that completely changed the whole game around. His very first touch, I believe, he cuts around on the right side, inside the box, cuts it back to Doss. Doss hits the post. Benfica goes the other way, scores. A couple minutes later, he goes at 3 Benfiquistas, Feja, Lindelof, I believe, or Luizão and Smith, and they're all just wide. They're all backing up. He goes around. Lindelof wasn't there. It was Luizão. He crosses it to Bastos, who's standing behind Lindelof. But Lindelof is ball watching, and all the guy has to do is tap it in the net. I thought Campbell absolutely brought a different dimension to this game, and he changed things around for Sporting. He was a threat every time the guy had the ball on his feet.
Yeah, let's talk about Raul Jimenez before we get further into the game. And Cristiano, you and I had some conversations about Jimenez, especially when we were watching the game. But now 5 starts, 5 goals. So every time that Raul Jimenez has started for Benfica, he has scored. Can't say much. Can't say enough, I should say, about the guy's work ethic. I mean, he starts games in the 88th, 85th minute. The guy is still running at guys full speed to pressure him. And I think that this goal is a goal that perhaps only Raul Jimenez could score because he's a guy that attacks the ball. And I don't know if any other guy would have that type of mentality that Jimenez has. He's a warrior.
This is a pure Jimenez goal. This goal, the one against Napoli, is a pure Jimenez goal. The guy, look, I'm guilty of it. Okay? I sat here on a podcast and I questioned whether this guy was worth the 12 million prior to Benfica paying the other half, the other 12 million, whatever it was. I questioned whether he was worth that first 12 mil. But I got to take my cap off and I got to really say that this guy, he's been, I don't, at least in my mind, a pleasant surprise because he might not have it all together with his feet, but the guy doesn't give up. And I'll tell you, if a lot of other Benfiquistas played with the same heart that this guy plays with, Benfica would win the Champions League because this guy never gives up. And then this is a perfect play. Smith, who hesitates, crosses it. João Pereira is in a perfect position to clear the ball. He gets in front of him. The guy does not give up. It doesn't matter if it's the first minute or the 92nd minute. He's the one guy on the field that's constantly sprinting. The guy never gives up. So I think as a Benfiquista, we got to appreciate that, man, because a lot of times we've seen guys just lollygagging out there. You know, the guy that came from Sporting, he didn't play this week, but he's a guy that frustrates us at times. A guy like Arcelo last year frustrated me because he doesn't give it his all. So when I criticize guys for not giving it their all, on the other end, I gotta applaud guys that do give it their all, and I definitely applaud Jimenez.
Yeah, and I know that Steve has a different opinion of Jimenez, so I'll let you.
I'm not a huge fan. I'm not gonna lie to you guys now, but I have to give him credit where credit is due. You guys are talking a lot about his heart and his work rate, but as simple as it might look, the movement and the intelligence of that movement on that goal is a striker's goal. You have a striker who's pinpointing a weakness. He's hanging out at the back post versus the worst player in the air on Sporting. So he's hanging out there. He's looking almost like he's going even behind him, but then cuts in front, and when the ball is short, he's there. I think that takes a little bit more than just heart and guts. I think that's a little bit of a goal scorer's instinct. His play outside of the box leaves me frustrated at times, but
he had a couple of touches.
Steve, he did have the one play. He did have the one play with the heel where he put Benfica's on a counter, and he puts Rafa basically on a break. Rafa's got to finish that as well. I mean, look, I don't think you know me. I'm a guy that preaches Jingo all the time. I like guys with a nice touch, and you've heard me talk about this on and off the year. You know, for 2 years now. The guy,
one touch in 100 touches is not necessarily
exactly. No, that's
it's not where you want to be.
Steve, that's where I was going. Steve,
I think
that's
he's
where I was
improved
going.
too.
What I'm saying is he's lacking a lot with the ball at his feet. The type of player that I like. He's lacking, but he does surprise me at times. And I'm just Steve. I'm praising him for his hustle. Right, I'm not even praising him for his ability, but I was praising him for that before.
For that little bit of smarts that I watched, I was like, you know what, that was completely well thought out, good movement. That's a good goal. That play though, was a shame Rafa didn't score it, because it was a nice build up. Pizzi plays the ball into Jimenez, who actually plays a nice back heel. That was nice, but. Yeah, it was one of the few nice moves that we pulled off, and I believe that was the second half already.
Yeah, I'm trying to... my thing is that that I think he's improved. I thought he was a lot worse, and I think that his experience at Benfica and the style that Benfica has, and that needs from a player like that, because that player, since he plays by himself most of the time, is a guy that needs to be aware of where the runs are coming in, where the overlaps are coming in. And I think that he didn't have that instinct. He worked like hell to get in the right positions, but he didn't have that instinct of looking for guys and combining with guys.
He still doesn't associate well with his teammates. Right. He's just out there battling on his own.
But he has improved. And that's something that we could say about Jimenez, is that he's definitely improved. And look.
And let's be fair. It's not like we have a healthy Jonas and we're sitting Jonas to play him. It's Mitroglou, who's been struggling as well. Another guy that we've questioned about his ability to play outside the box as well. So, I mean, you kind of have to weigh which one you'd rather have. And at this moment, at least he does the dirty work, where Mitroglou is the type of guy without service into the box. Yeah. He's pretty much useless.
And Cristiano has said here that Mitroglou is very Jonas dependent. Absolutely. That without Jonas, he's like a shadow of himself. And I mean, we're seeing that. We saw that last year. He was scoring at one point of the season. He was scoring at as many goals as Jonas was, because the two played well together. Now Raul is just, he's needed because sometimes there's work to be done up front. Agora não posso estar cotiçando essa merda, man. Mas
é só para tu veres que eu sei. Olha ali, bate na mão. I'm not crazy. Bye. Thank you, Timo. Thank you, Timo. Love you, Timo.
It's the regular movement of the body. He's turning his body to go. I don't know. It's still casual.
My statement was that it hit his hand. I don't care who's turning what. I said it hit his hand.
Okay. So anyway, 2-0. And we're really deflating Sporting, but Sporting continued. And Steve, I got to question some of Vitoria's substitutions. Danilo for Salvio. The midfield that was playing well. I don't know if he saw something that we weren't seeing. There was at one point that the team looked a little gassed out, so maybe trying to inject some pulmon into the midfield. But I think that I didn't get that. He put Danilo in for Salvio, move Pizzi, which is a guy that can
distribute.
Not only distribute but pause the game if the game needs to be paused. Put him on right. Salvio, if you guys haven't heard, he had a dislocation of his shoulder, so he's out for 4 weeks at least. I didn't get that at all.
Blessing in disguise.
And the thing is that Benfica really suffered as a result of that.
Yeah,
with Danilo coming in. What's your logic for that substitution?
The logic for the substitution is to add another physical player in the midfield. Without you're up 2-0 or 2-1, regardless of what's
2-0 at the time.
2-0. You're up 2-0.
2-0. He came in at the 55th minute and they scored their goal on the 69th.
There you go. It's add another guy with physical presence in the midfield, another one to block up the passing lanes. I'm okay with it to an extent. The one thing, like you guys just said, you take Pizzi out of there and you're losing a guy, because Pizzi is basically the only guy at that moment in time, because Danilo, a lot of people praise him for the type of footballer he is. He wasn't able to show it in Sunday's match. It was just too high paced. It
wasn't a game for
basically him. Not played. It was a game that he was probably not ready for. But I see why they wanted his type of player if he was fit. But knowing who he is and then just putting Pizzi out further up forward and basically isolating him. I mean, yes, maybe he's not as intense on the 1v1 battles. Maybe he's not going to win many punts up the air and win the ball in the air. But when the ball falls to him, every time he gets it, he's going to try to play a pass that's going to get you further up the pitch or in a better position than when he first received it. And if you have him further up the pitch in a game where he's going to be choked of possession and not going to see the ball that much, it's a bit of a waste. That's where I go with it. I know what Vitória is trying to do, and I think that's a very clear message to Samaris that you're not producing, because if you look at it, Samaris has had a lot more game time than Danilo. Should be able to offer you everything that Danilo does, but he chose Danilo first. So if anything, that's a message for me. Anyway.
See, that's where I have a problem with it, Steve. That's where I have a problem with it. Okay, I understand what he's trying to do, and I don't even mind moving Pizzi out wide, because Pizzi's played out wide and he's got experience playing there, so it's not new to him. My problem is the selection. I mean, you're bringing in a guy that's making his second appearance in the Campeonato. He played 1 minute against Belenenses, and you bringing him in a big moment. I mean, I understand the message and everything, Steve, but I think it was the wrong player to choose. This is a player that's out of rhythm, a player that has no familiarity with his teammates, a player that hasn't played in a big game for your club at least. I mean, it was just the wrong player. At this time, had Samaris come in, I probably would have accepted a little bit more, because at least Samaris is a guy that's been there. He's played in big game. I mean, to throw a guy into the fire like this, a guy that we really know nothing about. And let's be fair, and I'm not trying to be critical here, but Danilo really was non-existent.
But he wasn't. But here's my thing.
Steve, my problem is the player. It's not what he did. It's the player.
I get it. But for what he was brought on to do, he did not disappoint. I mean, he wasn't able to bring the ball out. Fine, but nobody was at that point. Sporting were suffocating us. But you didn't find him wanting on the 1v1 battles. You didn't find him making mistakes in covering zones or areas or passing lanes. So yes, it was a risky move. But for me, not only because we won, I don't think that that risky move really hurt us, is what I'm trying to say. It hurt us, and we lost Pizzi, and Pizzi was no longer involved as much in the game, and then by taking off Gedge a little bit longer, we even got William more involved into the game. So there was a couple changes, but I can't point my finger and say Danilo never should have played, and he's the reason we almost lost or almost tied.
I wouldn't mind the Danilo sub when it was Samari's sub late in the game instead. You know, if they would have reversed the substitutions.
I get it.
My thing is, a guy's played 1 minute in Liga NOS.
Well, that's the thing.
And you're entrusting them?
Yeah.
I mean, if you trust this guy this much, why hasn't he played?
I understand, and that is the logic. But here's the thing, right? Coincidentally, when he came in is when Benfica struggled the most to get out of their own half. So I understand the defensive side. And if Sporting is a little bit more effective in the chances that we're creating, then we got a problem, Steve. We were lucky enough that Ederson kept us in the game, and they only scored in the 69th minute. But coincidentally, was when Danilo came into the game that Benfica dropped their production. Seriously.
And he did nothing.
Right. So I get the logic behind it. And
I get the logic, just the wrong choice.
I think I agree with Cristiano, but then I think that if somebody just goes in there, I don't know if it's much better.
But at least you understand. It's a guy that understands the team, the concept, a guy that's been in these big battles for Benfica, a guy that's battle-tested, a guy that you know what you expect, rather than a guy, I mean, guys, unless you're a diehard Braga fan or you follow him, how many people really know about Danilo? I don't know crap about Danilo.
I mean, the guy...
And to throw him out there in a big game like that, okay, fine. It was a great test for him.
But here's the thing, right? Like I said in a pregame show, we have to give the benefit of the doubt because the coach works with him every single day and he sees what he's bringing in the training pitch, right? I understand that he doesn't have game rhythm, but we're not seeing what levels of intensity the guy has on the training pitch, and we don't know if that was the right choice or not.
100% fair, but you don't test the guy in a big match like that.
But maybe he didn't have trust in Samaris.
Well, you brought him in, so you did.
You want to clog up the middle.
But you brought him in, though. You brought somebody.
You brought somebody to burn time at the end of the game in the 89th minute.
I guess.
But I'm saying that if your idea is to clog up that middle and you got two guys on your disposal, you go with the guy that you feel could do the best. And he gambled with Danilo. I understand your point, Chris, but we don't see what Vitória sees in the training pitch.
I think it's pretty obvious. That Rui Vitória is not a Samaris guy. Because we've seen, I'm not even trying to be funny. We've seen instances where he tried Celis over Samaris. Now we see Danilo getting the call over Samaris. I think he's going to find any fit body she's going to choose him over somebody. I just don't think that right now it was the right choice for a player to really break out of the cobwebs in such a huge game. A player that hasn't played at this intensity all season long. He played 1 minute in Liga NOS.
Yeah. It was risky, but you could have just gained a player. Think of it that way.
You could have. I mean, it was a gamble that he took.
Think of it that way.
Because Steve, you're saying that because we were able to hold on and win the game.
No, man. I just said that. He did not. The team as a whole was suffocated. You can't just say, okay, because Danilo came in, that everything was going wrong. It was going wrong already at the time that Danilo came onto the pitch. If you watch the match, you could try as hard as you like, but Sporting were superior in basically everything except for the scoreboard.
All right.
So by just
slow down there. All right, Bruno Carvalho, calm down.
No, I would say it was superior.
I'm messing with
first. I would say 65% of the game they were probably superior than us.
Yeah. So by bringing him on, it's a risk, yes, but it could be a very calculated risk, like Chris.
But I'll say this real quick, Stephen, and you could get back to your point. They were better. I'll give them that. They were better. But Benfica also had the luxury of knowing we're up 2-0. Let's sit back. Benfica didn't have to play the second half.
Yeah. Dude,
all they had to do was defend.
They didn't even care about counterattacking at one point.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't even care.
They didn't even care. There was a ball where I think it was a corner that was hit too long or something, and I couldn't really tell if it was Almeida or if it was Pizzi who had the ball in like a left back type zone. And basically he had to kick it away because nobody was making the movement so that he could play it forward easily. Nobody showed for him, and he basically just had to boot it away when there was a very easy outlet. All you had to do was basically run up the line for him, and he would play it to you, and you would have acres of space to run into.
That could come down to coaching, though, Steve, because Benfica got to the 2-0 lead, and they relaxed.
I'm sure it was.
They got to the 2-0 lead, and they relaxed. I wasn't on the pod after the Benfica blew the 3-0 lead against Besiktas. That was also another abysmal display by Benfica. It's a 3-0 lead. They laid back, obviously bit them in the ass. We go into the Napoli game, 0-0 at halftime. Besiktas losing. Sit back. Let's calm down. These are the criticisms I have of Rui Vitória, and we've seen it again. Yeah, we were able to hold off and come away with a 2-1 victory against Sporting. But it's another example of Benfica getting too comfortable and too complacent in second half of games. And that, to me, you can criticize substitutions, but at the end of the day, it's the mentality of the coaching staff, because they're doing what the coach is telling them to do. Yeah. And these are some of the things that Steve and I and a lot of other guys that still aren't sold on Rui Vitória. For those of you at home right now going goo gaga over Rui Vitória, these are the things that we still criticize to this day. And this is another example. Just wanted to point that out.
We didn't need to suffer, that's for sure, in that second half. And I don't know how much it came to. I mean, if you look at the first half and the way we were pressing, the way we were compressed, that playing in that compressed space takes a lot of effort from everyone involved, because the whole team has to be moving as a block. No one player could, slack off or not run as much. It's a collective effort, and there's a lot of effort being put into that type of game. The pressure, the high pressure, the man-to-man, the swarming the ball carrier. There's a lot of stuff that goes on into that as far as effort. Granted, we only played 45 minutes against Napoli. The other 45, I think the guys were just walking around. So I don't think that had anything to do with us being gassed out. But that first half did take a lot out of us from what it looked like. So then Vitória realizes what had been going on. He pulls out Gedge, puts in Servi. Servi goes to the right, drops Pizzi in the middle. But then by then it was too late. Sporting was already had the rhythm going, and we were fortunate enough that we were able to hold him down and really finish the game 2-1. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, it's another example of Benfica suffering down the stretch of a game when they don't have to. I mean, we could pinpoint.
If you want to call it an example of something, it's another example where Benfica, with players of similar quality, if not better, I would say we have a better 11 and a better squad, are not able to take the game to their opponent of similar quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another downfall.
That goes back to my Mancuso conversation.
Yeah, and I don't even want to know if it's a Mancuso conversation or if it's a coaching conversation or what it is. It's a little bit of all of the above, but it's been a very, very evident.
Yeah, but even against little teams, even against little teams at times we have struggled to put games away against little teams. We control
the ball, we did, but
we do control.
We control the game. Yeah. When we play Porto, lucky to get away with a draw. Yeah. Play Napoli twice, lost twice. Benfica is clearly a better team, right? Gave up the lead very late at the Lisca's special free kick at the lose. Gave up a 3-0 lead. That was embarrassing. Benfica had no reason to suffer. Okay, the last game of the match day 6, Estoril lose against Napoli because they could have clinched the week before. Yeah, all right. Yeah, they made it tough, and then for people to come out here and be all happy, right? All thrilled because Benfica this and that, when they just got smacked 2-0. The only reason why you advanced is because the other team was worse than you and took up 6 or whatever it was in Kiev. I mean, that's nothing to brag about. I mean, if you don't see the flaws of this team, you're not watching Benfica. It looks great against Pasfreira and Belenenses because that goes back to my conversation of Mancuso. Benfica and Rui Vitória has got horses racing up against burros from other teams. That's the comparison. Horses against burros. The horse is always going to win. But now when it's horses against horses, he doesn't have he's not up to standard. Okay, JJ. Tremendous substitution with Joel Campbell substitution. Changed the game.
But then he shit the bed when he put that boss. When he took out that boss.
His explanation was Bas Dost is a slow guy. He needed speed in there. I mean, you
doesn't matter. You think you're losing by 2-1. Losing by 2-1 or losing by 3-1. You put a guy up front.
What did it happen? What did I say? Taking out a striker? But then once I heard his explanation,
his explanation makes no sense.
I think you need speed at that time.
Well, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing with Benfica is like, I think as long as we continue to win and Rui Vitória continues to talk, have his usual discourse for the media and classy guy, I think that people would just they won't care about some of the flaws that this team has. This team has clear flaws, as I've said last week, with not having a true 8, a guy like Renato Sanchez that could play in that role. There's some flaws in this team, but because we continue to win, people will ignore that.
Here's the thing. I don't like to quote shitty movies, but it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, and as long as we keep winning, nobody's going to do anything about number 8s or any of that kind of stuff.
What movie is that from, Steve?
Fast and the Furious.
I don't think I've ever watched it.
I would have never guessed that. I thought that was some kind of a sports movie.
I might have watched the first one. I didn't watch the other 12 that came out.
That was from the first one.
Watch the first one because you didn't know Vin Diesel was.
Yeah, I
in
don't
it.
remember a long time ago.
After you find out that Vin Diesel was on it, that's it. I'm done. So anyway, 2-1, and now it's 2 consecutive games where after last year of losing 3 consecutive games to Sporting, it is now 2 consecutive games that we've beaten Sporting. Do you think that the boogeyman is gone now? Do you think this is helps?
He's off his back, like I said.
You think this helps a little bit in the confidence?
It alleviates, and obviously now he can stand up there and stick out his chest and say, "Pa, eu tô aqui." Like eu tô aqui. But deep down inside, he's got to be content with the results.
Yeah.
But he can't really be content with the fact that he's still having a hard time breaking down and figuring out the system, and not just to forget JJ, the big teams. Benfica's still struggling against these big teams, and there's got to be a reason, and then I think he struggles with that at night.
Yeah, talking about big teams, the Champions League draw for the round of 16 was held this past Monday, and lo and behold, we drew Borussia Dortmund. So the first game comes up on February 14th. That's Valentine's Day in Portugal is the first half. The game comes in between 2 games for the league, Roca and Braga. Braga is after, Roca is before. The second leg, March 8th, comes in between Feirense and Bolonenses. So those are the fixtures, and when we get a little bit more time, or when we get closer to the game, we will be previewing that game extensively, comprehensively. Dortmund won the group. Cristiano, what do you think? I know that we spoke about
going to be a very, very fun game match, especially when we go there, because that's a very, very special event. And I'll tell you right now, one of their guys, como é que chamam?
Aqueles monks.
No. One of their guys like
guys malucos.
No, man. Nas oficinas. One. I can't come
up. Nas oficinas.
Yeah, one of the general managers from the club came out and said Benfica
is by far
the biggest club in Portugal. Just for that, I like the guy. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
And they got a tremendous coach, tremendous atmosphere, very good young team. I mean, it's going to be a classic matchup. It's going to be one of those old school Champions League matchups. Benfica, Dortmund stadiums, both are going to be rocking. It's going to be very exciting to watch.
Yeah, exciting times for Benfica. I think that you know what, it was a lot of strong teams and teams that could possibly.
And we're going to get some
out.
extra coverage of it in America because everybody's Pulisic
That's
crazy here in America. So
Pulisic, that game will be on for sure.
Yeah, well, it'll be on because now they play 2 games a day. Anyway, because they
I thought that was only starting next year.
No. But now after the groups, they play 2 games because we see how there's a big break February 14th and March 8th. So now there's a big break. So now there's only 2 games per day. That means that everybody gets to play on TV.
Wow.
Next year,
so one Tuesday and one on Wednesday.
Yeah, next 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday.
Right.
Next year, in 2018, it's going to be the group stages.
I got you.
That's the difference.
So coming up for Benfica is this Wednesday, the Portuguese Cup matchup against Real Massama, team from the suburbs of Lisbon. The game will be played at the Estoril, which is Bolonenses Stadium. Comes up tomorrow, 7 p.m. local. Massama is actually a team from Portugal's 3rd division. They are in first place in their group. There's a bunch of groups. The way the 3rd division is, there's a bunch of groups split up with all the teams, and then I think the top 2 teams of each group jump into a division, and then that's how they decide who's going to be promoted or not. I learned all of this from playing FM Manager, by the way. They have only had one loss. Steve, Real Massama. Do you anticipate, just because we had such an intense game on Sunday, that there'll be some real rotation from Vitória?
There's got to be. I mean, you got to keep the guys on the fringes content. This is the only type of game that you can. Rui Vitória is basically stuck to his core of basically 11 guys, except for when Grimaldo or whoever's hurt, but he kept on sticking to them. So now he's got to give chances to Danilo again. He's got to give chances to probably a Zivkovic or even a Jardel
You're gonna say Tarap?
No.
No, your boy Tarata's never going to wear the jersey again.
He's not wearing another Benfica jersey. We know that.
Yo.
But yeah, you're expecting some changes. I would expect at least maybe 2-3 guys, maybe one per sector, of players that have played more. Maybe not necessarily part of the first 11, but not more than that.
Serious question here, Steve.
Not more than that.
Serious question here. Well, first comment. I like to see Zivkovic play. I don't care if it's on the left, on the right, up top. I like to see him play because I think this kid's got the skills to play, and I think he's going to be good down the line. That's number one. Number two, this is the serious question. Do you start Jonas and give him some game rhythm? This is an opportunity.
No, I mean if he got called, I think why not? Why let him play 45 minutes?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, if he made the game roster, albeit he ended up in the stands for this past Sunday, and I don't know
a little bit to do mental.
I don't know if it was a bluff or not, but I mean, if he's give him 45 minutes. Yeah, give him 45 minutes. It doesn't hurt. Let him go out there and test it out, see how he feels.
If he's 100%, I'm letting him play.
He's never going to be 100%.
No, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean, guys. If he's ready to play, yes. If he's ready to play, I start him. Now, if he's still question mark and all that crap was a bluff going into the weekend against Sporting, then I sit him out. But if he's ready to play, he's really ready to play, I'll play him this weekend. Let him get the cobwebs out.
Yeah.
That's a question for the medical staff, man. That's if he's fit, you got to let him run a bit, but I don't know if that's the game that you use it for. We'll see.
All right. And then this Saturday, Benfica plays Estoril. 8:30 local. Estoril is 11th place, 15 points from 4 wins, 3 ties, and 6 losses. Last 5 against Benfica. 5 wins for Benfica. Last 10 head-to-head, 9 wins, 1 tie. Of course, they're playing at Coimbra da Mota, which is in the Estoril Cascais area this weekend. So it's important that Benfica. This game is almost as important that Benfica wins as the derby is, because it comes on after a very emotional win, if you will, because there was a great level of pressure on the team to beat Sporting, not to surrender the first place, albeit still early in the season. But this game is just as important, so we need to make sure that we get the 3 points and we keep going and finish out the year in first place. We also have Porto, who seems to have picked up a little bit of momentum. Let's see if there's some consistency to that. So it's important that we keep winning these games. That's for sure. Also, I think that's about it. Estoril has just fired their coach, if I'm not mistaken, so that there's that factor too. Usually when a coach comes in, and if you guys want to hear a little bit more about the mental aspects of a coach's firing, or chicotada psicológica, as they call it in Portuguese, what is it? The psychological whip, roughly translated. Check out the podcast, Lateral Esquerda. They have a very good episode on the firing of coaches and what kind of effect it has on a team.
Yep.
So basically, just to give you a little thing, one thing is that when there's a new coach that comes in, all the guys that were there, even the guys that at one point said, "Well, I'm not going anywhere with this coach, so I'm not going to give him my all." But now everyone's got a fresh, a clean slate. So there's a bunch of factors, and if you understand Portuguese, I strongly advise you guys to go listen to that episode. I think it's maybe 2-3 episodes ago from Lateral Esquerda, and listen to all the factors that are involved when something like that happens, when a coach is fired and new coaches come in. There's both pros and cons with the firing of a coach and the bringing in of a new coach. So definitely check those guys out. I think Bruno's on there, and Bruno gives a good information, as well as other guys. And all these guys have coaching experiences, and they've been around players, and they know what's going on. So let's turn our attention now to Twitter questions. Let's see what we got here. And there's a new follower, Eliseo the Man. I just have one thing. I don't know who he is, but I'm assuming that he's somebody that probably knows us and that's created. I think Eliseo's the Man is fine. I just think that your avatar, what you should do is put instead of having a dinosaur body on Eliseo's face, you just have a popsicle. Put a popsicle as the body of the dinosaur. You could leave the arms and the legs, just put a pop stick and put the Benfica jersey. You should be okay with that. I think that would be really funny. For tomorrow's game, should we expect players like Zé Gomes, Zivkovic, and other youngsters to get the nod from Rui? Cristiano, what do you think?
I would like to see that.
Zivkovic, Zé Gomes?
Absolutely. I would like to see these kids get that. And if Jonas is healthy, get Jonas in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe get a B team left back because Eliseo's not healthy, right? He's out too, right?
Yeah,
he's out. So
Eliseo's out.
maybe left. I mean, because I doubt Almeida's going to play.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You need now.
I think he's one of the guys from each sector that's probably going to play, just because you don't have very many other options. Unless I don't even know who the B team left back is. I think
is Jardel ready to go?
I think
Jardel, Lisandro could start in the middle.
Yeah, I think both of these guys start.
You know, Almeida, and then you don't really have many options as a right back and left back. So
what are you going to do with right back, man? You can't rest.
It might be Almeida and Semedo again. Who knows? Or an invention.
Yeah, here's Meg. Lovers out of time. With Salvio out, who do we see in his spot? It's a curious thing, actually, that Vitória doesn't really, with all the injuries that we've had this year, Rui Vitória doesn't really have to have a rotation plan in place, because somebody always gets hurt at the time where he needs somebody else to come in. So I think that Cristiano, what do we say? Servi to the right?
For now, it's Servi until somebody else strips it from him.
Yeah, I don't think that Carrillo has it yet. I think that's Servi's way. I think that Rafa is going to go on the left. Mm-hmm. I think that Servi's going to go on the right.
But the other thing we could see.
Variation.
The other thing we could see is if Jonas is healthy, Jonas into the Gets, obviously that gets back his spot and gets to the right. We could also see that.
Yeah. Meg, yes. I mean, it's hard not to go with the guy with the hot foot. I think that now 5 starts, 5 goals, 2 consecutive starts, 2 consecutive goals. I mean, you go with the guy with the hot foot. Right, Cristiano? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Did you ask the question?
No, she's saying Raul played well and has scored 2 games in a row.
Just answering.
Well, I mean, I think the by answering the question, people can figure out what the question was. Here's one from Justin Mendes. Steven, this one's for you. With January quickly approaching, what sort of reinforcements can we expect to bring in, and any dead wood shipped out?
I think Celis will find a spot for him. Now I can't remember who the player we were linked.
Find a spot for him while going out?
Yeah, I think he goes to Braga. But I can't. It's because we wanted somebody from Braga as well, but I can't remember who it was now.
Celis goes to Braga?
Yes. Yeah, we wanted a central defender, Ricardo something, right? Something?
That was in the summer, but no, man, it was somebody else that kind of made sense.
Nuno Santos, that kid Santos, he's nice. I think Santos. He's nice. Pedro Santos.
He is, but I don't think we need an attacking player like that to play
Stankovic or whatever it is. Stankovic, one of those.
I'm wondering if it was. I doubt though. There's a new guy plays central midfielder that right now I can't remember the name of him at Braga. But I don't know if it was him. But basically, you're looking at
Usual.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I'll get a name and I'll post it later. You're looking at left back problem area. You're looking at number 8.
Yeah, but they're bringing in the kid from Grêmio, right? Steve, the kid from Grêmio is supposedly signed.
Yeah. You're gonna
whatever. He's supposedly signed.
Yeah.
You're going to trust him right away as well if we lose. Well, actually, Grimaldo's injury at this point might be a blessing in disguise. So we'll keep that going.
But I mean, it's nothing major, I don't think.
No, they said he'll be back in the new year.
You know, it's some kind of an abdominal
tear. I think that's kind of.
I don't know.
I think it's difficult. It's difficult to recuperate from because you're basically always using your core, and there you go.
Yeah. Cristiano, here's one from Francisco Marcelino. Zivkovic played on the right when he was shining in Serbia. Is the Savio injury his big opportunity to get minutes?
It is an opportunity, but right now he still has Serbi. He has Carrillo that he has to get over, and I talked about it before. If Jonas comes back healthy, then he still has to fight with Gets. It's going to be a big uphill fight, and I think in games like tomorrow, if he does play, he has to grab the opportunity by the horns. I think this is where he has to show that he deserves some more minutes.
Yeah, here's one for you, Steven. I'm not going to ask this one to Cristiano because I know Cristiano is biased. Who do you guys prefer to see at left back, Eliseu or André Almeida?
That's a no-brainer for me. I prefer Almeida over Eliseu.
Gelson had that dude in ice skates this weekend.
No, he didn't.
No, man. Almeida actually was.
Nelson says he had him in his pocket.
Almeida
I wouldn't go as far as in his pocket.
Timo's on at Stade de Luz. He says that Almeida had him.
With all due respect, I don't care what other people say. It's about what I saw with my own eyes. And I pinpointed it to you. He was jumping. Listen, he did well to stay in front of him. But my man was all over the place. Hey, you know what? It worked out. He wasn't as bad as I thought he was going to be. But in the beginning of the game, they kept forcing the ball down that right side because they knew he was the weak link on the defense.
Yeah, but he got beat, I think, one time pretty bad in the first half. But aside from that, Gelson basically didn't get the best of him. Gelson, because of who he is, he kind of like makes the whole game adjust because you know how difficult he is to handle 1v1, and you know that he has also the brain to know about that he's being double teamed and to play it off. But he didn't have the best match he's had. I think he played better against Real Madrid from what I heard than he did against us.
Yeah, I don't think. Listen, I'm not saying that Almeida had a stinker. I'm saying he was on skates. That's all I'm saying. I don't think Gelson was that involved.
Everyone versus Gelson is on skates, man. It's like saying you're playing against.
What's that got to do? But he was on skates, so I got to point it out.
Sure. I don't think Grimaldo would have had a better time with Gelson either.
There was a time I pointed to Alfredo. I'm like, when he was jumping, I don't recall. I think it was the second half. I don't recall. But I was like, I just kept laughing. But all in all, it wasn't as bad as we all anticipated.
No.
And Gelson didn't have that good of a game. Maybe just Gelson wasn't into it. Maybe it was to do with the fact that Almeida played well defensively. And we just saw those instances where they were one-on-one. And it looked a little shaky at times, but hey, it worked out.
Here's one from Jafust. Are you concerned by the fact that we haven't dominated a classic or a derby match since the Eusebio 2-0 smash versus Porto?
Yep.
Sergio, I could care less if we dominate or not, as long as we keep winning. I don't care.
But I'm concerned.
But listen, Steve, I'll give you this example, right? Last year, when we played Porto, I forget what at Stadio de Luz or at the Dragão, where we absolutely dominated Porto.
At the Luz.
Where Casillas had one of the best games of his life, and we came out of the game with a loss.
It could have been a 6-2 scoreline. We lost 2-1.
I mean, what's it worth to dominating a game if you're not going to convert and you're not going to score more goals than the other team?
You're right, 100% right, but I think Steve's probably going to agree with me on this. Steve will agree. It's like, it's fine, and like you said, as long as you're winning, but at some point here, all right, in the next couple of years, you want to see Benfica take one of these games and control the game, as opposed to every time we play these teams. It's like we're always on our heels against these teams. I want to see Benfica really come in there and prove to everybody that they're there to play, man.
Yeah, like Chris said, you want your team to be in control of their own destiny. The way we play against bigger teams, it's never the case. Yeah, it might be pragmatic, it might be smart, but we have players where we can be more than just pragmatic and smart, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I apologize if I'm trying to get to all the questions, but some of these questions we've already answered in our conversation. Jafur is saying, Danilo coming in, does this mean Celis burned his chances with the squad in the last Taça match? I think that all indications point to Danilo is the second choice for that 8 position.
Danilo's a Jorge Mendes guy.
Not even Samaris is up there now.
That's a very good point.
So never mind.
Think about a Luizado pass.
Yeah. If Danilo, Samaris, and Celis aren't the answers as backups to Feza or Horta/Pizzi, do we need to promote from Benfica B or buy? I don't watch enough B, but I think there's a couple talented kids. But it's
Rodriguez kids are good.
Yeah, but that thing is that Renato guy doesn't come in every year. You can't just put a guy with that level of talent and just right away hit the ground running. You know, these kids are going to take some time.
I think they're going to see what they have with Danilo first.
Yeah,
that's what I really think. And then at the end of the year, Selly, Samaris, and if Danilo's on loan, and they'll have the option of buying for 15 mil. If he doesn't convince them, I think all 3 of them will be out the door, and then Benfica will be looking for a new guy to come in and really, be ready to learn off of Feja or take over for Feja. See what happens with that.
Yeah. Here's Kevin Miller. Let's talk Benfica. Does the league penalize Benfica for the fans throwing
They did already.
trash papers on? Yeah, they did already. That was already publicized.
Yeah, they've done so already.
Either 6 or 3,000.
16,000.
16,000?
16,000, 60 something like that. Some crazy.
Yeah, it was 16,050 because that's the way the fining system works in Portugal.
Our buddy at PortugueseSoccer.com, he's always
he
posting
had
this stuff.
He
He puts the fines for week 13, fines issue fireworks except Benfica, $16,067. Rui Costa, 918, not dollars, guys. I'm sorry, euros. Rui Costa was fined 918 euros. I don't know for what. Sporting Clube Portugal, 3,290. Porto 1760, Boa Vista 1140, and Vitória Guimarães 1140.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is a question that Portuguese soccer is always posing to us. How does the Liga NOS and the Federação come up with these numbers?
They have their table of prices. I mean, just like when you go get a haircut and a shave.
What's the 67? That's like the fee for filling out the paperwork for the fine. Is that what it is?
It's got some kind of administrative fee. I don't know.
It's gotta be.
Here's Jaforce mentions Vukcevic or Pedro Tibas.
I don't think it's either of them. It's a new kid that was playing on the B team, just started playing recently with the A team. I'll get the name for you guys. I just can't remember it right now.
Here's you were just mentioning PortugueseSoccer.com. Any truth to the rumors that the Liga fined 10 CO10 a total of 1,234 for taking pictures of Tondela's pitch on week 1?
I didn't get the memo.
It's like the parking tickets that I never pay in Portugal either. Way to go, Chris.
Oh, no, Steve, don't say that, man. You'll mess it up for the rest of us.
Dude, man. Somebody's listening to this, man.
The guys walk around with a credit card machine on their belt, Steve. Don't be messing it up for all of us.
Francisco Marcelino, if Fesa gets injured, is somebody's the replacement because he seems not to convince Rui Vitória.
Right now, it's Danilo.
If Fesa gets hurt, God help us all. Here's one last one. Would Gaetan fit if he came on loan? Would he fit?
It's like that's like asking if the sun is warm. I mean, come on, dude. Of course he would fit. I mean, Gaetan fits on any team in Portugal.
He would fit.
Absolutely.
That's
I'll take him back in a heartbeat too.
Little Mazio. Yeah, little Mazio.
You sound like a remix right now. You're rapping Little Mazio.
Right there. Little Mazio. That's a cool name.
According to Sergio Jaforce, Rui Costa got fined for complaining to the match officials after the match. What was he complaining about?
Oh, he
must have been complaining about the cartulinas.
No, he was complaining that Bruno Carvalho was blowing kisses to the crowd.
Yeah, but Bruno Carvalho says that Benfica fans were spitting on him, and the cops were watching. I mean, that guy, how big of a clown could this guy be? I mean, listen, I've said it multiple times. I say to all my Sportingista friends, the guy's done a magnificent job with the club to get them back, out of bankruptcy and to get their business in order. That's fine. He's been tremendous in that aspect. But as far as him being on the field, I mean, and getting in front of a camera, this guy, I mean, só fala, tonterias, man. The guy talks more shit than God knows what. Just like stay away, sit next to the other presidents, try to look presidential, bro. Don't, I don't know.
Yo, one here from Hugo Tapada. I'm sorry I didn't catch this. This wasn't tagged. Is Ederson better than Oblak? Christian. You know what Ederson is better than Oblak at right now?
Getting tattoos.
Not only that, but the dude always seems unfazed.
I think he smoked a couple of joints for the game. He's just like,
no, he's just like whatever. He just made like the save of the game, and he just gets up and he's got that face on, like
puff.
Yeah, whatever. When's the next save?
That's a puff. Ai, Luizão. Vai, cara.
Vamos fumar baseado? Maconha.
Passa aí, cara. Yeah, that dude, he looks like he's just that.
Yeah.
Who's better? Dude, listen, I think right now you would take Oblak, but in my opinion, if Ederson, he looks like at times he has these lapses of concentration, and if he gets the game, if he gets it all in order, I think Ederson's going to be special. I think Ederson could be one of the top goalkeepers in the world in a very short future.
Stop with the tattoos, bro.
That dude's got tattoos coming out of his neck.
I thought it was like dirty on his neck, and it's a tattoo.
He's getting an oil change if you got the clean.
Cesar Hernandez, likelihood of Raul Jimenez maintaining his starting role, dude. The hot foot you go with the hot foot, so I'm pretty sure that he's gonna keep going with him. If we have everyone healthy, there's one from Hooch to Pot. If we have everyone healthy, do you think we can make a decent run at the Champions League? It's 2 games, so I don't know. Dortmund's pretty strong, but it all depends how much the team evolves from here to there.
It's still a long time between now and then, 2.5 months or something like that. 3 months, actually. 2, right? I can't do math. I think it's like 3 months or whatever it is. It all depends. I mean, the way that Benfica is picking up injuries, I mean, we'd be surprised if half the team won't be injured by then. Hopefully they won't. But it's going to be a very tough matchup. I think that their coach, Tuchel, I can't pronounce his name. He's a very good coach. He has that team hitting on all cylinders. And we've seen this team goes out to the Bernabeu and losing 2-0, comes back and ties the game.
Yeah.
They set a Champions League record for most goals in a group stage. This is a team with a bunch of young players. Dembele, very young player. Pulisic, very young player, both 18 years old. You got
the dude up front. I can't mention.
You got
I can't pronounce it.
You got Marcos Ruz. You got the other Sterling. I forget his name. Whatever. He played at Chelsea before. They have a bunch of guys that are very Sure, there it is. Sure. Very, very good players, man. And this is a team that if they make a run, you won't be surprised because they obviously have quality up and down that roster. But then again, we've seen Benfica play Bayern Munich very tough last year. Obviously, had a very, 2 very different players, 2 very influential players, and Renato and Gaetan that changed the game from Benfica. We obviously lacking that this year. But, I think Benfica will be able to go out there, and it all depends what they do with the first game. Yeah. In Germany, if they're able to come out with a good result, I think things could definitely be.
Well, it's in Lisbon first.
Oh, was the first one? I thought it was. I thought it was the other way around. Never mind.
No, yeah, the team seeded first will play the last game at home.
Okay, I thought it was the other way.
So UEFA seems to think that that's the advantage.
It is huge, though.
I think that if Benfica plays to the best of their capabilities and everybody's 100%, I think that we could give Dortmund a good game. And by giving Dortmund a good game, then we got to get the breaks also.
I think if Benfica shocks the world, I don't think any of us will be surprised because we see this team on a daily basis. But now I think the rest of the world will be absolutely shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd be more shocked if we beat Real Madrid or Barcelona. I mean, Dortmund still – I think Dortmund is very good game. But they haven't been doing all that great domestically. But, I mean, they do have the team. Anyway, I think that's all I got. All the questions. I hope that I answered everybody's question. Thank you, everyone, for that tuned us in. We had a good number of people watching us. We're here live every Tuesday. We do this live here. Myself, Alfredo, Cristiano, and Steve Santos. Every once in a while, we'll throw a special show here and there, like the pre-derby show that we had this past Sunday. But those are not too often. So. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. Please don't forget to check out the folks over at planetbenfica.co.uk. They're great supporters of our work. BenficaPodcast.com is where you can find our website. At 10CO10 is where you can find Cristiano. At Steve Santos 6. At Benfica Podcast. That's all of us on Twitter. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes and like us, and that helps capture the right audience. Anyway, so that's all for us. We'll see you again next week. Next week, we'll break down the Estoril game. We'll look ahead to Benfica's next game, and we'll have some more. So thank you very much for checking us out. Again, see you again next week. See you, everybody.
Ciao.